In a world of depression and loneliness, filled with hatred and darkness, God brings us His word of liberation through Brother Pade Tokun. This is Message to the Nations. The Cross.
The Gospels tell us in several passages the kind of invitation that Jesus addressed to anybody that wants to follow him. Let us look at Mark chapter 8 verse 34 to see one of such passages where the Lord addressed an invitation to anyone that hears the gospel and wants to know how to respond. In Mark 8 verse 34, and when he had called the people unto him with his disciples also, he said to them, whosoever desire to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Three things he always bring out. The person will deny himself, the person will take up his cross, the person will follow him. And this is what we call the death sentence of the gospel. As if Jesus is saying, for you to be a Christian, you must die to the life you know and start a new life. And these three things, deny yourself, take up the cross, follow me. The three things are not three different matters. They are three different aspects of one issue. Deny yourself defines the big obstacle that you must overcome. Carry your cross tells us the instrument that we use to deal with yourself. And follow me is the end result of using the cross to handle yourself. We want to look at the cross that Jesus is recommending as an instrument of helping us to be Christians. Actually, from what he's saying in passages like this, it is not possible to be a Christian without doing something about yourself. And the instruments that we use to deal with yourself are not human principles, not education, not self-actualization, but the cross. The cross is of utmost importance in the gospel and in the Christian life, and we must understand it, and we are talking about it in this episode. In fact, it is said that the cross is the center of the Christian life. It is not only the center, it is the circumference. The cross is the center and the circumference of the Christian teaching, of the gospel, and of the Christian life. Why is the cross so important? First, because it was on the cross that Jesus died to fulfill the sacrifice that he promised to make with his life. It is on the cross he paid the ransom that he promised he was going to pay with his life. It was on the cross that he fulfilled the declaration of John the Baptist when he said, the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. And secondly, the cross is important because it is often, every time, recommended by Jesus to anyone that wants to follow him, as if it is not possible to follow him to understand him without understanding the cross. And then thirdly, we see that the epistles, most of the teachings in the epistles turn around the cross. The cross is used to explain many things, and many of our experiences are brought in the focus of the cross. As important as the cross is, there's a confusion because the meaning change with time.
You can order for any of the books written by Brother Pade Tokun, He That Is Born of God, Only Jesus Christ and Him Crucified. To place your order, please call 0708 552 1373.
The cross should, at the beginning, be understood in the context of the life then under the Roman Empire. The cross was just an instrument of death, a humiliating death. It is an instrument to put to death criminals, but not all criminals, the worst of criminals. It is an instrument of humiliating the person and to put that person to death. That was what it meant. The sight of the cross in that first century signifies the death in a humiliating way of a person. At the time when Jesus was talking, the cross was an instrument of putting to death the worst of criminals. The cross meant humiliation, death, rejection by the society. The cross was something nobody would want to experience. It was the worst that could happen to somebody, and it was a sign of total rejection, total humiliation, and death sentence in the most horrible way. But that meaning in the first century changed when Constantine the Great, the Roman Emperor, accepted Christianity. The cross that used to be something abhorred, something horrible, something of shame, suddenly became something of honor. The perspective of the cross changed. Before Constantine, the cross was not even an emblem of Christianity. The early disciples did not see the cross as an emblem. It was rather a principle of life. It was rather a teaching. The emblem used to be fish, not the cross. The cross was a rallying point. It was a teaching that defines their mindset and their mentality. The cross symbolizes a set of teaching that teach them how to live the sacrificial life and walk in the footsteps of their master. At that time, the cross is a reminder to them of the readiness not only to die as the Lord died, but to partake in the shame, to partake in the dishonor, to be rejected by the society. And the change was total. What was to be a teaching and a principle became a thing, an emblem. In fact, at that time, at the first century, nobody will think of the cross as something, as a jewelry. As we see today, people use the cross as earring, as necklace. Nobody would think of it that way, because it signifies shame. And the importance of it was not in what is seen, but rather it is in how it shapes the mindset of those that believe in Jesus Christ of Nazareth. The cross must be central to the Christian life that will have meaning, not as an emblem to be carried. In fact, the importance is not even as a sign and an emblem to be put upon the church. No, it is rather something that must define my mindset, my mentality, my behavior. The cross is rather to remind us the principles that guided the life of Jesus, the principle of submitting to the will of God, the principle of submitting to humiliation, the principle of not loving his life unto the end, the principle of laying down his life as a ransom, the principle of doing the will of the Father, the principle of saying no to what we have wanted and submitting to what the Father says. That is what the cross represents. So when he says to carry one's cross, he's talking about to tread the path that he had taken before us in his approach to life. May God grant you understanding.